Hello everyone, it's Michelle with Silver Snake Designs, and in today's video I'm going to teach you how to make this beautiful pendant and necklace. And just wanted to let you know that this pendant also holds a nice little secret. And yes, this is what you think it is. It's a mood ring pendant, and I'm going to take you through all the steps really easy on how to create this wonderful necklace. So let's get started. Here I have a piece of tile down so that I can roll out my clay. You can find the pieces of tile very cheap at your local home improvement store. I also have a lump of black clay, and I like to use Sculpey Premo. That's black. I'm going to roll it out with a highlighter. There is a beginner clay kit that Sculpey puts out, which includes like a roller and a scraper, a blade, and a couple other things. But if you don't want to go out and buy one, you could just use things around the house. So I have my little blue highlighter. So we're going to roll out the clay. And when you roll out the clay, you don't want it to be too thick, but you don't want it to be too thin either. And probably say a little bit thinner than that. And I think this is going to be good. Yeah, I like that thickness. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take our stamper and we're going to stamp an impression into the clay. Now, when you're looking at a stamp, you want to make sure that the stamp has these, what do I say, pointed, and that they're not like flat, because you want the impression to go into the clay. So what we're going to do is we're just going to press that down and press really hard into the clay. Don't be afraid. Press, press, press. And I think I've got it. So I'd say I'm pretty happy with that impression. And the next thing you're going to do is we want to take out that impression. So we're going to take our cutters. You could use whatever clay cutter you have. You can go to the store, you can buy one. There's a lot of places on Etsy that you can purchase. You can custom make the cutters, or they'll have these beautiful, beautiful different designs. So this one I bought on Etsy, and I'm just gonna, let's see. I think I want the flowers. Let's see. I like that. So I'm going to press the clay with my cutters. There we go. So now I'm going to bake the clay according to the manufacturer's instructions on the package. And I'm going to follow that, and I will be right back. So I've gone ahead and baked the clay, and it is now hard as a rock. And we are now going to put the mood ring coloring on top of the clay. And I did black clay only because the coloring comes out so much better on black clay. It doesn't show up if you did like a white clay, but I would assume that, and I haven't tried it yet, but like if you did like a very dark blue clay, it might work. So here we're going to be using Solar Color Dust. This is called Liquid Crystal, and there's about 10 grams in here. And if I open it up, you can see, looks like it needs to be shaken up a little bit because some of it's dried up. I went in there. So there we go. And that's what it looks like. And what you're going to do with this is you're just going to take your paintbrush, and I'll just start taking some from the cap here and just paint it on. And what you want to do with this, you don't want to put on too thick of a coat, but because my pendant has little crevices, I kind of want to get the liquid gold into those crevices. And I don't want to put on too thick of a coat, because what you're going to need to do is let this dry, and you're going to put on a couple coats. So let's just paint, paint, paint. And I think that'll be good for coat number 1. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let this dry, and then I'll come back. So the first coat has dried, and as you can see, it's a little warm in my house because I'm filming by a window. So the colors are actually going to be dark blue. You can kind of see a little bit of green in there. Maybe it's just me though. So what we're going to do is I'm going to do another layer, and you want to make sure that you dry between layers, only because it's like baking a cake, and you don't want to put the frosting on the cake while like the cake itself is still like warm. You want to wait for the cake to cool down. Otherwise, like when you do the frosting, it's going to like tear up the cake. Well, this is what this would do as well if you don't let the first layer dry. If it's semi-dry and you go put another layer down, it'll like peel up that first layer. So let's go ahead and add our second coat. And sometimes, depending, I'll add the second coat, and maybe I'll go for a third coat. But what I want to do is just add this, and then I want to get into the little crevices. And the thing about getting it into the crevices too is sometimes, if depending on how long your finger rests on to change the colors, you'll have the crevices a different color than the surface top portion of the clay, and it just turns out to be like this really pretty effect. Let's see if we can. Okay. It takes about 30 minutes to dry between coats. Kind of want to get a little bit on the side here. Okay. All right. Let's let that coat dry, and we'll come back and we'll see what it looks like if we're going to need to add a third or maybe even a fourth coat. See you shortly. And I am back, and I think we are good with this coat. It's a little warm right now, but if I put it on, if I put my finger onto the clay, I could see that it'll work. But as you can see, there's a little bit more, I put a little bit more clay on this one, a little bit more liquid crystal on this one than I did with this one. So I'm thinking, yeah, let me do one more. I'm going to do one more coat just because I just think, because I also have to account for the, what happened to my brush? I still have to account for the layer of UV resin that you're going to put in, and I'm afraid that this, if I put the resin over it, even though we're going to be doing like a thin coat, that it's not going to pick up. So let me just do one more coat. I promise this will be the last one. And then I will just get it a little bit thicker this time around. Want to get into the crevices. Okay. Okay, I promise that this is the last time. So kind of want it to do that. Okay. All right, I think I'm happy. Let me let this dry and I'll be right back. Okay, so I am back and I am happy with this coating. So I think this will work. Let me see. Yeah, that'll work. You can see that there's some amber in the center and it glows to the dark blue around the edges. Just look at that. I love that. And you could see, like I was telling you before, in between the crevices, it stays almost like this amber color because it's cooler and the heat from my hands doesn't get down there. So now what we're going to do is we're going to put a brush on resin, and what I'm going to do is just move this out of the way. I'm going to put this down on just like a little piece of an index card. I also have this, which is a UV resin. It's mainly for your fingers and, you know, for doing like nails and stuff, but it also works great for resin. And so we'll just keep that there. And so now what I'm going to do is, this is a bottle of UV brush on resin. I think I have another. Yeah, here's another one. And this one I bought, I think from, I don't remember which store it was. It was one of those, like, I don't know, Michael's, Joann's, Hobby Lobby. And so what we're going to do is we're just going to open it up. I'm going to get a little bit of resin. I'm going to take a thin layer because I don't want to put too thick of a layer on, only because I want the heat to transfer from my fingers to the color changing liquid. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to just put a very thin layer on. I'm going to kind of get around the sides of it as well, only because I kind of want to seal it in. And don't be afraid to pick up your piece and make sure that you have your the sides a little bit coated as well. Also, to make sure you keep your UV resin closed because it will react to sunlight, and if you work by a window and you keep the bottle open, it just will harden up on you. And I think maybe a little bit on the tip here. Other than that, I'm really liking, let's see, I think a little bit on this tip here. A little bit over there. And I think I have it. So now what I'm going to do is just position that right there. And I'm going to turn on my light. And I'm just going to pop it in just for a few seconds. You don't need to keep it in very long. It'll go very quickly. And let's see. You can see it's changing colors from the heat. And that's okay if it looks like this. Nope, just still want to keep it on for a little bit. Let's put that back in. And I'll come back in a moment. And I think we are good. Look at that color change. Looks amazing. So now it is time to put it onto the bead foundation. So let's get started. So here I have the Cabochon, and I'm just going to glue it to the back of my foundation. Just like that. I'm using Loctite super glue, one of my favorites. Been using it for years. I'm going to just stick it right there. I've got my KO gold thread. I have a pile of 11.0 gold seed beads and a pile of 15 seed beads. And what I'm going to do is I have a beading needle. I'm going to come up as close as I possibly can to the Cabochon. I'm going to pull until I have maybe, oops, pulled a little too much there. I'm going to pull until I have, let's see, what do I have here? Just like a little tail of a couple inches. and I'm going to hold that, and I'm going to go back down as close to where I came up as possible, and I'm going to pull that through. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to tie these together. So I'm just going to make a knot, and that'll hold it together. And then just so I don't have a little tail, I'll just keep a little tail just in case. So there. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a row of 11s all the way around, and we'll do that by coming back up as close as we can to the cabochon. And you can see my hands are a little bit cool today. So that's why it's actually turning more amber, because my hands are cooler than the air or the cabochon. So that's cool. And you'll see that as you're beading around. So what I'm going to do is pull this through. I like to work in twos. And the reason why you're going to pick up 2 is because when we go and do the peyote stitch around it, we need a step up. And the only way you can do that is if you have an even number of beads. So that's why I'm going to have you pick up 2. And so you're going to pick up 2 beads. We're going to go down maybe a little bit, say a little over here, just like that. We're going to pull. We're going to come up through the 2 beads, just like that. Not through the holes, but through between the 2. And then we're going to go through that bead that we just put on our last bead. And this is the start of bead embroidery. We're going to pick up 2 more. I'm going to bring this all the way down because I like to, it gives me a good guide to see where I have to put my needle. So I kind of just do that, and then I just kind of pop it down there. So now I'm going to pull. We'll do a couple more, and then you can go ahead and pause the video and finish up. Then I'm going to come up through the 2 beads that I just put on. I'm going to go through the last bead I just put on. I'm going to add on 2 beads. I'm going to come down, and I'll stick this one right about there. I'll come up through my 2 beads, and I will go through that bead right there. And so that's what it'll look like. Pick up, we'll do one more, pick up 2 beads. I'll bring these all the way down, and I'll stick it right about there, and I'll pull through. I will come up between the 2 beads, and I will go through the bead. So go ahead, pause the video, keep doing the 2 beads until you come all the way around. And when you have a little space here left, I'll show you what we're going to do next. See you soon. Okay, I'm back. I've gone ahead, and now you should have a little space left. And it looks like I can fit 3 in there, but I don't want to because, like I said, we want to have an even amount. And I don't think 4 would fit. So I'm just going to add 2. I'm going to bring that down. And you can see there's kind of a little space there, but that's okay because I'm just going to go through the next bead. I'm just going to go through a couple of them actually. And it kind of, you just do that a little bit and it disappears and it's really good. And so what this is going to do is this is going to set us up to do a peyote stitch around. So what I'm going to do is now I'm going to pick up one bead, and you can see our thread is coming out this bead here. So I'm going to skip a bead and I'm going to go through the next bead. Just like that. I'm going to pull, and your work should look like that. So one bead should be sitting on top of each other. It's okay if it's not up, you can move it up as you go. Your beads may lie flat when you do this first round, and if it does that, don't worry about it. So now our thread is exiting this bead. We're going to skip this bead and we're going to go through this next bead here. I'm going to pull it through, and your work should look like that. And your beads should fit 2, 1, 2, 1 all the way around. Let's do a couple more. So I picked up a bead. I'm going to skip this bead. I'm going to go through my next bead. Pick up a bead. I'm going to skip that bead and we'll go through this next bead. Okay. Pick up a bead, skip a bead, and go through the next bead. Now what I want you to do is do that going all the way around. And when you come to about here, then you can unpause the video and I'll teach you how to do the step up. So go ahead and do the rest around. See you in a minute. So I've gone ahead and beaded all around. As you can see, as I beaded around, it started to push up against the cabochon. And now what we're going to do is our step up. So what you're going to see here is we're going to pick up a bead first. And now what you're going to see is this is the bead we're going to skip. We're going to go through this bead, but there's this bead right here. But we need to get to this bead, so when we go and pick up a bead, we'll go through this bead, pick up a bead, and go through this bead. So our subsequent beads will be sitting in this little valley. So I call these little mountains, and these are valleys. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to go through these two beads right here. So our thread is exiting this bead. We're going to skip this bead. We're going to go through this bead, and I'm going to do this one at a time, because sometimes it's hard to get up and do two beads at the same time. And then we're going to go through this bead. And you've just completed your step up. And now you can just pull and just bring all your beads up. And I think that's what we're going to do for the two. We're going to do that as our base. And now what we're going to do is we're going to do a round of 15s. So I'm just going to pile a bunch of 15s here. I'm going to pick up a 15, and this is going to be really easy because you just go through the mountains and the beads will fit into the little valleys. And can we just stop a moment and just appreciate the beautiful colors that this pendant is taking on, and this cabochon? I'm sorry, just had to stop and just admire the beauty. Okay, let's get back to it. So what you're going to do is you're going to pick up a 15, and we'll skip this bead down here and we'll go through the next mountain. We'll pick up a bead, go through the next mountain. And you can see how quick this is going. Pick up a bead and go through our next mountain. Sometimes it's hard to pick up the beads, because I can't see very well. Pick up a bead and go through the next mountain. And what's going to happen is you're going to hit a step up as well. And if you're struggling with the step up, go ahead, finish beading all around. And then when you come to a couple spaces prior, you can unpause the video and I'll teach you and I'll show you how to do that step up again. Okay, so go ahead, pause the video, and I will see you in a moment. So I've reached the point where I now have a step up, but what I want to explain to you when you're working with going from like size 11s or let's say delicas, going to a smaller bead, it's going to, you may bypass your step up, and this is why. Let me show you a little quick thing here. So as you can see, we've been putting our 15s through the little mountains, but then we're coming up here where it looks like, here, let's get a little closer, where it looks like there's going to be a 15 here and then a 15 here because there's a space. But as you can see, there's a 15 here, and you just want to be careful because that 15, as you can see, there's 2, 2, 2, 2. And so if this was actually over here, you can kind of see we're going to put our second one here. And if you look, I just wanted you to be aware of that. But that's how it's really supposed to look. So I'm at my step up. So I'm going to pick up a 15. And I'm going to, and I'm going to go through this bead and this bead. If I can tell you the little beads. So I'm going to go up through there just like that. I'm going to pull, and I'm going to just pull a little tight. I'm going to pick up a 15. I'm going to go through the next 15. And sometimes because these are coated, they kind of have like a little bit of a, I have to pull it through. So if you have a pliers, you can use the pliers, but I use this. This was made by somebody in my bead society, but you just grip it and pull it through. So pull, pick up another 15, or you can put these back in the little pile. Pick up a 15, we'll go through our next 15. These are little tough beads this time around. 15, and we'll go through our next 15. Oh, these are a little tough. Wow. There we go. Every time I do that, it feels like the bead is going to snap. So anyway, what we're going to do now is we're going to do 2 rounds. So we just did our first round of 15s. We're now on our second round of 15s. We're going to do a 3rd round. So what you're going to do is you're going to go around, you're going to do your step up, and then you're going to go around a second time for a total of 3 rows. So pause the video, go ahead and do that, and when you are done, unpause, and I'll take you to the next step. Okay, so we have completed our 2 extra rounds, and if you have some extra thread, that's awesome. I do, because what we're going to do now is we're going to add the border around it. And so using the border, we're going to have our little 2mm rondelles, 4mm fire polish gold beads, and our size 11s. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to bring my needle back through the beads and all the way down, because I want to come back up through the fire line. So I'm just gonna, because I want to come back up through the foundation, the beading foundation. Wish I had fire line right now. Okay, So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to come up anywhere, doesn't matter, you know, so we'll come up there. And now what this pattern is going to call for is a, we're going to start off actually with this one, an 11, a fire polish, an 11, and then I'm just going to show, oops, I'm just going to show it to you really quick, and then we'll just follow this pattern. We're going to do 2 rondelles. We're going to do an 11, a fire polish, and an 11. And then we're going to do 2 rondelles. So that's pretty much what it's going to look like. I'll just keep that there to remind us. And so what I'm going to do is, because with this one, I want to pick up 3. I mean, you could pick up 2, you can do 3, it doesn't matter, but you want to just make sure that the pattern completes and that it's not an incomplete pattern. So I'm going to start off with, this is what I'm starting off with. 2 rondelles, a seed bead. I'm going to bring that down, and I'm going to push that right there. I'm going to come back up through the beads. You can come back through the first or the second one. Doesn't really matter. I'm going to pick up a fire polish and a seed bead and 2 rondelles. Well, I'll pick up 1 rondelle. Doesn't really matter. And then I'm just going to go down here like that. I'm going to come up through here. I'm going to go through my beads. I can't see today. So pick up rondelle, a fire polish, come down here, this, and come up through here, through the fire polish, and now I'm going to add on my 11 and 2 rondelles. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to continue doing this all the way around. And as you can see, we're going to keep adding our beads, and then when we come around, we want to end with a seed bead. So go ahead and pause the video and do what you got to do, and I'll see you in a moment. So we've gone ahead and beaded around and made our lovely little border. Now it's time to cut it out. And here I'm going to be using my larger scissors and then my smaller scissors just to get close by. So what we're going to do is we're going to use this border as our guide, because what you want to do, don't mind the tape, I just taped it down just for the purpose of this tutorial. But what we want to do is we want to be careful not to cut these threads and not cut too close. So we're kind of going to use this as our guide. So I'm just going to cut around. Okay. That looks good. Thought I might have needed my little scissors, but I guess not. I have my little tiny scissors. Oh, that's not, that's part of the knot I made. But I like to sometimes use my little scissors just to trim. All right. All right, now that we've done that, we are going to move all this out of the way. And I cut a piece of Ultrasuede, which is a really nice backing, just a little bit bigger than the pendant. So now what I want to do with this is I kind of want to get like a rough circle, or like a rough outline around it. And I kind of want to cut it a little bit bigger. The reason why I'm cutting this a little bit bigger, and I don't know if you've worked with Ultrasuede in the past, but when I'm beading, the Ultrasuede tends to shift on me. So I tend to do as a cut as you go kind of thing. So what I would do is I would actually start the Ultrasuede like this, a little close, just like that, and just cut it to the shape for this section. And then we're gonna bead it, and then once we get a little bit closer, we're gonna trim it down more. I've had pieces where as I'm beading, the Ultrasuede tends to pull like this. So I kind of want to have, just in case if it does that, kind of have like a little, you know, a little give and a little extra. All right, so now what I'm going to do is show you how to attach the Ultrasuede to your beading foundation. Okay, so now the next step is getting the Ultrasuede to the beading foundation. And what we're going to do is I like to start from the middle. So I want to make sure that my thread is coming out between the beading foundation and the Ultrasuede. And then I just want to line it up best I can, just like that. And I like to work from the back. So what we're going to do is we're going to start off, and we're working with our 15s. I'm going to start off by picking up 2 15s. I'm going to bring those down. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is come up through the Ultrasuede, through the laces. You want to be careful that you don't go through the beads or back behind the beads there. And then we're going to come up like this. We're going to pull. And now, see how the string is coming out of that second bead right there? We're going to go back through that bead. I'm going to pull, and then we're going to go back up through that one bead. And we're going to pull. Mind your thread. Like it's getting caught. Okay. Oh, come on. All right. And then you're going to pull up. So now what it's going to look like is the thread is coming out this bead, and the bead is sitting up, and you could see the hole should be facing you when you look at it on its side. If this bead is laying on its side or whatever, don't worry about it, because when we come back around, when we join our final bead that we add on this side to this bead, it'll straighten up. So now we've added the 2. We're going to add 1 bead. So we're going to pick up a bead, and we're going to bring that down. And then we're going to go through the Ultrasuede and the beading foundation. Just like that. It's okay if it comes down here. And then we're going to go through. Now mind your thread, because you don't want your needle to go back through your loop. So you want to make sure that your thread is over here. And then we're going to pull. And as you can see, the bead stands up right next to the other one. And then we're going to pick up another bead, Move it just a little. You can see, like, this is why I told you to do it a little bit larger, because sometimes the beading foundation can move, and or the Ultrasuede can move. So we're going to go back through the Ultrasuede, and we're going to go up through the beading foundation. And we're going to do it a little bit over. We're going to pull, and we're going to go back up through that seed bead, and we're going to pull. Okay. So now what you're going to do is continue all the way around, and once you get here and you need to trim as you go. And the other thing I want you to be aware of is when you get to have when there's a little space like right over here, stop, because you're going to need to count this, because in order to do this border, you're going to need an even number of beads. Okay, so if you want to count as you go, you can do that. Stop ahead, make sure, because you may have to add one, take away one, add two, whatever you need to do. But you want to make sure you have an even number all the way around. So go ahead and I'll meet you on the other side. So you've gone ahead, added your border all around, double checked that you have an even number of beads. And now what we're going to do is we're going to add this rondelle border for the next step. We're going to work on our clasp or our bail, or loop, whatever you want to call it. And then the last step, we're going to be working on the necklace part, the chain. So we're almost done. So thank you so much for sticking with me so far. And if you're getting value from this video, just hit like and subscribe. So now what we're going to do is we're going to finish our border. So we're going to do that by picking up a 15, a rondelle, and a 15. And now your thread should be exiting the top of the circle. You can see that. So what we're going to do is we're going to go down through our next rondelle, or excuse me, our next seed bead. Okay, so I'll show you the back. I'll do this from the back so you can see it better. And it looks like that. Then what we're going to do is we're going to come up through the next seed bead. We will pick up a seed bead, rondelle, and a seed bead, and we will go down the next seed bead in the row. We'll go up the next seed bead, we'll pick up a seed bead, a rondelle, and a seed bead, and we will go down the next seed bead. Feels like mine is a little bit hard, so I'm just gonna yank out my little thread puller. There we go. And there we are. So you're going to continue doing that. Go up the next seed bead, add a seed bead, a rondelle, a seed bead, and go down the next one. And once you have gone to the final portion, unpause the video and I'll show you where we go next. So you've gone ahead, you've made your border, and now we are going to focus on making the bail portion. So with that, what you want to do is pick up 30 size 11 seed beads. So we're going back to our larger seed beads. So I've gone ahead and added 30 beads. Now what I want to do is I want to make a loop. I kind of want to pull the loop down where I have just a little bit of a tail, a couple inches. Now what I want to do is go back through the beads and going back through the first bead, and there we are. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up, we're going to do a circular peyote or tubular peyote. Well, at least the start of it. We're not really going to get too far into it. So I'm going to pick up the seed bead, and now my thread is exiting this bead right here. We're going to skip this bead and go through the next bead. I'm going to pick up a seed bead. I'm going to skip this bead, and we're going to go through the next bead. Pick up a bead and go through the next bead. Continue to do that all the way around. And if you remember the step up, go ahead, do your step up, and I'm going to ready you for the next round. So I'll see you in a moment. So now I've gone ahead and I've made my loop. Looks like almost like a little wreath, golden wreath. So now what I want to do is, because what we're going to be taking the rondelles and putting them in between here. But what I kind of want to do is attach the bail now. And I've determined that this is the pendant, the top of the pendant. So like, I mean, you can do that one or it can be this one, but I prefer this. So what I want to do is, because we're going to have rondelles go all around in between the little valleys, we can attach it through this rondelle up here. We already have a rondelle we can put in the valley. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to get my bail just like that. I'm going to go through the rondelle, and I'm going to go through the next seed bead. And that'll do that. We're going to reinforce it as well, but at least that just gets us on there. Then I'm going to pick up a rondelle, and I'm going to go through the next mountain. And then, you know, pull as you go. I'm going to pick up a rondelle. I'm going to go through the next mountain. Pick up a rondelle, go through the next mountain. And go ahead and do that until you've come to this point, and then I'm going to show you what to do next. So I've gone ahead, attached everything, and now my thread is exiting that last mountain, the gold mountain. And so now what I want to do is I kind of want to just reinforce this. So I'm just going to go back through that rondelle that is attached to the pendant, and just go and do this, and then back through the seed bead here. And you can just follow the path of the seed beads, and don't be afraid to pass your needle through as many times as you possibly can, because what that will do is it'll hold the bail in place. And so what I'd like to do too is come down through my 15s and just secure it on there. So that's what you really want to do. You can go up to 15 and then you could secure the 11s. So once you feel that your bail is secure, we'll move on to the next step. So I've gone ahead and reworked my thread back through just to reinforce it, so I feel like it's on there pretty tight. I also moved my working thread up to where my tail thread was, and I just tied it off and cut it. So we have our pendant made. And if you made it this far, congratulations. I would love to see pictures of your work. And we are in the home stretch now, and now we are going to be working on our chain. And this chain is made with what's called prismatic 3, which is almost like, it's instead of using prismatic right angle weave, which is also known as cubic right angle weave, and that uses a base of 4 seed beads. This is actually going to use a base of 3 seed beads, and I will show you exactly how we're going to do that as we go. You can also see that I added, we have a little loop here at the end, and this is actually, this little ball of fire polish beads is actually cubic right angle weave. So you're going to learn a little bit about that also. So let's get started. We're going to first start our prismatic 3 by picking up 3 seed beads. These are our size 11 seed beads. And we're just going to bring that down and go through the first bead that we put on, just like that. Now your work should look like this. Now what we're going to do is we're going to pick up a seed bead, a rondelle, and a seed bead, and we're going to go back through this same bead that our thread is exiting, just like that. Your work should now look like this. You want to fix the rondelle a bit. There you go. So now what we want to do is we want to go through this next seed bead, just like that. We're going to pick up a seed bead and a rondelle. And now what we're going to do is we're going to go back through this bead and then this bead. So just like this. Gonna pull. Now your work should look like this. So now what we're going to do is, I know this really doesn't look like a pyramid just yet, but I want to show you the thread path because this next part may be a little bit confusing. So as you can see, my thread is exiting this bead. I'm going to bring my thread through this bead and then this bead. I'm going to pick up a rondelle. I'm going to go back through this bead again, this bead again, and then out the rondelle that I just put on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and keep this as flat as possible just so you can see the thread path. But what that's in essence going to do is create like a circle or a loop and technically like bring these two sides together. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through the next bead. I'm going to go through just this seed bead. And then I'm going to pick up a rondelle. I'm going to go down here. Oops. Okay. Okay. So now I'm going to pick up my rondelle. I'm going to go down this side here. So now you can see the thread path. I'm going to go back through there. I'm going to come up through here. And now I'm going to pull tight. And I'm going to make sure that I can see the 3 rondelles on the top. My thread is exiting one of the seed beads where you can see the holes. So if you can see those 3 holes, which are vertical, those seed beads are vertical, and the rondelles, the holes are going horizontal, you know you did it right. And you always want to exit the rondelle. So since our thread is coming out of the seed bead, and it doesn't matter if you're left or right-handed, you can go this way or you can go this way. I prefer to work counterclockwise, just me. And I'm going to go through there. And we've just completed our row. So now what I want to do is I want to alternate between rondelles and seed beads, rondelles and seed beads, just to give it that effect. So what I have here, so you can see here in the chain that we have seed beads, rondelles, so it alternates. And my next thing I'm going to do is the seed beads. So now I'm going to pick up 3 seed beads, no rondelles this time around. I'm going to go through the rondelle that we're just exiting. I'm going to pull that through. Work should look like this. I'm going to go through my next rondelle. I'm going to pick up 2 seed beads. And I'm going to go through this seed bead and this rondelle. Just like that. I'm going to pull. Now you can see your work is starting to stand up. And now you could see I'm going to go through this rondelle. I'm going to go through this seed bead up here. Let's turn this so you can see it better. This seed bead up here. I'm going to pick up a seed bead. I'm going to come down this seed bead right here. I'm going to come across this rondelle. Trying to move this so you can see it. Up this seed bead. And in place of the rondelles, we're going to have to exit a seed bead. So now you can see the 3 seed beads, and you should be able to see the 3 holes of the other seed beads. And then we'll go through that. Okay, now you just completed 2 rounds. Now we're going to go back to the rondelles. And that's where you're going to pick up a seed bead, a rondelle, and a seed bead. And we're going to go back through the seed bead our thread is exiting. We're going to pull that. We're going to go through the next seed bead. I'm going to pick up a seed bead, a rondelle, and I'm going to go through this seed bead and this seed bead. Trying to make sure you guys can see it on the camera. Here we go. I'm going to go through this seed bead. I'm going to go up this seed bead. Oops. I'm going to pick up a rondelle. I'm going to go down this seed bead here. I'm going to go across this seed bead here. See if you can see that. It's a little hard angle for me to bead at. We're going to go up this seed bead. And we are going to exit a rondelle. There we go. And now what you're going to do next is you're going to continue doing now seed beads, then you're going to do the rondelles, then you're going to do seed beads only, then you're going to do the rondelles, then seed beads only, and work that up to a length that you like. If you want to do 16 inches, 18 inches, whatever length you feel comfortable at. But as a reminder, because we're going to be doing what's called a lark's head knot, you're probably going to lose about an inch of that in the bail here. So keep that in mind. And once you go ahead and make the strand that you feel comfortable with, unpause the video and I will take you into, the final home stretch of this. We're almost done. I've gone ahead and made my necklace 20 inches long. So now the only thing we need to do is attach the round ball and the loop. So let's start off with the quote unquote ball, but technically it's square since it's cubic right angle weave. So what we're going to do is we're going to start off by picking up 4 fire polish beads. These are 4mm fire polish. 1, 2, 3, 4. And just like in the prismatic 3, we're going to go through the first bead that we put on. Your work should look like this. Let me fix my camera. There we go. And now what you're going to do is you're going to pick up 3 the fire polish. You're going to go back through the bead that our thread is exiting, and your work looks like this. Now I'm going to go through the next fire polish bead. I'm going to pick up 2. And now we're going to go through this bead and this bead. Okay. We're going to do, this is where you got the extra step. We're going to pick up 2 more. And now, oops, excuse me, we're going to go through the next bead. Sorry, didn't mean to make the mistake. I did. So now we're going to pick up the 2 beads and we're going to go through this bead and this bead. Just like that. And now your work should look like this, just a big jumble. So just like the prismatic 3, I'm going to show you where I'm going to go through. So I'm going to go through this bead down here. I'm going to go up through this bead, pick up another bead, come down here, back through this bead, back up through this bead, and out the new bead that we had just put on. So come up through here. I'll pick up a fire polish. I will come back down this bead here. You can see the thread path better on this one than you can with those other tiny beads. I'm going to go through here, up through here. I'm going to pull. Just like that. And now, instead of 3 at the top, we now have 4, and you could still see the holes of 4 beads at each of the corners. And we're going to exit this top fire polish. And now what I want to do is I want to take my thread and just pop it through all of these beads. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay. Now if you want to, and you don't have to, but if you want to, you can just go in and reinforce and just do this. Maybe come down here, do this, make it a little bit stronger if you want, and just follow the thread path. Go down. And then when you're done, just make sure you're exiting near your tail thread, and then just tie it off. And now what you want to do is you want to keep your working thread on there, because we need to attach it to the end of our rope. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to snip the tail piece, but not my working thread. And you can always also add a drop of glue, but for the sake of this tutorial, I'm not going to do it. So you can add a drop of glue, and now what we'll do is we'll just take it and just attach it. I mean, there's really no right or wrong way to attach this. When you attach it, you want to make sure that you attach it in the most secure possible way. So what I kind of like to do is just see where my thread is exiting. And it's exiting, let me just get it through here, because I kind of want that. Okay. So now I think I'm just going to go through this one. I will go through the next fire polish. And then I kind of want to, because there's 3 at the top there, I kind of want to go through, let me see here, the next. And then I think I want to go up through this fire polish. And come down through the next bead. And oops, I went through another bead. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to work this onto my end piece, and you can do the same, reinforce it as much as you want, and we'll come back. And last but not least, we are going to add our loop. So what I'm going to do is put my needle through one of the 3 seed beads on the top there, and bring my thread down until I have a little bit of a tail. And now I'm going to alternate between rondelle and seed bead. And since our thread is coming out as seed bead, I'm going to do a rondelle. So that'll be so this would be number 1. This is number 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, and 17. Oh, I had a little extra rondelle. So now, because what we want to do is we want it alternating, we're going to end with the rondelle. And we're just going to hold the thread, the working tail, and we're just going to go through here. That's really it. So now the only thing you need to do is just go back through this a couple times just to reinforce this. And I'll go ahead and just do one time around just for the sake of this video. But you can go ahead and do it as many times as you like. Let's see where we are, almost there. All right, take my thread off. I'm just going to tie it. You can glue this too if you want. I don't like to glue things until the very end, once I know that I'm no longer going to be working my thread back through that location or back through that seed bead, because if I have to go back and there's glue there, I'm not going to be able to get my needle through the glue. So let's just cut this thread off. And now we're going to grab our pendant. We are going to do this. So we're going to almost like fold the necklace in half. This is what they call a lark's head knot. You may be familiar with this if you do macrame. We're going to put it through the loop, just like that. And we're going to bring, and we're going to grab, in this hand, we're going to grab it through, just like this. We're going to pull it through. And you can keep it like that if you want, but I prefer to just move this down so it's got like a nice little crown on the top. But you can keep it however you want. And I think because it's a little uneven, so I'm just going to grab it like this, and you can see. And I'm just going to pull and work with it. So you can pull a little this side, that side, until it looks pretty even. And we are done. I hope you had so much fun making this. I hope I made it easy for you. Leave a comment, like and subscribe to be notified of more tutorials that I do. And please visit me on Facebook, because I would really, really, really love to see your work. And take care, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.